Hi, folks. This is Sean Hyman. I just wanted to put a few videos in here to kind of sweeten it all. Sometimes when you hear something rather than just see something, it makes more sense. So I want to go over some of these basic Elliott wave rules for a motive wave, which is the trending wave, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves, and then, of course, the correction that comes after the motive wave, which is the corrective period. So there's not really a rule for wave 1 or wave A. They are just kind of waves to measure off of. Although we do know that there's 5 waves within the wave 1, so we do know that happens. So we can count the waves on the chart. But the first rule is that wave 2 must never go below the low of wave 1. So we know that as this heads higher, we know that this is a new uptrend and not a downtrend if we can count 5 waves within it, which this is a little bit sloppy one because it's a leading diagonal, which we'll talk about later. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 waves up rather than 3. And we'll talk more about it later. But leading diagonals tend to have very deep retracement wave 2s, which we see here, and there's a way to kind of measure that as well. But as deep as it is, that 2 does not go below wave 1. So this was 1171. This was in the 9s, 990. And then, so that's the first rule. So these are the first clues that we have a new uptrend before a lot of other things even show it. 5 waves up here, a correction here to where this low is higher than here. And notice that moving averages show this stuff later. So somebody that just saw this up to this point would say, well, the moving average is down. This moving average is down. The 50 is below the 200. This thing's still in a downtrend, and they would probably be like shorting or something right before a wave 3 would happen. So Elliott waves better help us to define trends better than moving averages, moving average crosses, all kinds of things like that. So Elliott waves are more advanced analysis, and regular technicals are more basic analysis. So Elliott waves are more like 201, and moving averages and things like that are more like 101. They all have their benefits, but that's their differentiating factors. So rule number 2, wave 3 is often the longest wave, but never the shortest wave of the waves 1, 3, and 5. In other words, of the impulsive waves, wave 3 generally many times is the longest. Does not have to be the longest, but it will not be the shortest. So it's the ones with the waves that are with the direction of the trend, known as impulsive waves. Wave 3 can be shorter than one of these other waves, but not shorter than both of them. And many times in stocks, you will see the third wave be the longest. In parabolic moves and bubbles, and also in commodities, many times you'll see the 5th wave be the one that extends. Rarely ever will you see the one that's the first wave extend. It does happen, but it not much. And again, we'll talk about all these terms later. But so you can see here that wave 3 is the longest of the wave 5 and wave 1. So the wave numbers are put at the end of the waves. So that meets that criteria. Rule number 3, wave 4 cannot enter into the territory of wave 1. In other words, the wave 4 low can't go below wave 1's high. One exception to this can be levered markets like Forex, like the Forex market, where at times wave 4 might slightly overlap wave 1. And then, of course, also in a leading diagonal, which we'll talk about later, can be an exception to that. But in a regular impulse, regular traditional 5-wave impulse, wave 4 doesn't overlap wave 1. So this pullback in 4 was at 24.34, and this high of wave 1 was 19.15. So that checks out as well. So there's your rules to know where you are within a trend. And then, of course, you have wave 5 that heads after that, and we know that's the final wave of the uptrend. And then you have the correction of that trend that happens in an ABC drop that happens after that. So much of a better definition because we can count, for instance, the waves here in wave 5 and know that this is likely ending long before we get this slumping over of moving averages, and they cross over and form the death cross. And by the time it crosses over, really the price is way down here already. So while these traditional moving averages are lagging, they are beneficial, but they're lagging. We can better define a trend to know if we had 5 waves up here, That's the first clue that the trend has changed, because remember, a bear market bounce would only be 3 waves. And then and then the low here being higher than this, so that's clue number 2 that we have changed trends. And then once you finally start getting up here, this is when the masses in this area start to realize that the trend has changed. But here's the problem: half the trend's gone before it becomes obvious that the trend has changed. So that's one thing I like about Elliott waves. So you've got wave 3. So when wave 3 is happening, much of the trend is over. So you want to be a little more cautious. You got the pullback of wave 4, and then wave 5. Once wave 5 happens, it's over. So you would want to be exiting out of your position, and then a deep correction ABC is coming after that corrects a good bit of this. So you wouldn't want to be a part of that as far as on the long side, and so you would avoid a lot of this downturn until all of wave C had worked its way out and start the next new uptrend. So anyway, that just shows how the basic rules of Elliott wave can help you determine better define where you're at within a trend, because somebody who's just looking to whatever RSI, MACD, moving averages, things like that, they're not going to be able to define this trend near as good as an Elliottician is going to be able to define this trend and tell where you're at. And there's also sentiment stages, so we know what the masses are thinking. Even if we didn't have CNBC to turn on or whatever, we would know what they're thinking in these phases, which we'll talk about some later on as well. So that's it for this video, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.